your support, material support of this organization is extremely important. And it's important from the standpoint of letting their policy work go on, because often that's the hardest work to fund. But it's also important because it's that tells all of those who are likely to support in bigger ways that this organization has a community that's solidly behind it. So please think about that. And I see an approving glance from Carol, so I know I said the right thing. And it is a pleasure to have an opportunity to introduce Carol Stroebel to you. Carol is an amazing person. She started with a BA in journalism from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and actually was in that career for a while, but somehow gravitated to doing public interest work. She worked for outstanding people who've served in government, people like Governor Anthony S. Earl in Wisconsin, U.S. Representative Norman Mineta, and in fact spent 24 years advocating for extremely important issues like highway safety, as well as the environment. I understand that one of her proudest achievements was her contribution to the legislation that Representative Mineta moved forward in enactment of the Civil Liberties Act of 1988. This is a bill that apologized and provided redress to Americans of Japanese ancestry who had been interned during World War II. A very important move forward in human rights for this country, and something that I know that Carol's very proud of. She also served as Director of Intergovernmental Affairs for the U.S. Department of Transportation at NHTSA from 1994 through 1996 in the Clinton administration. And of course, like all people who serve in government, everybody knows about the revolving door. People leave the government and they go and they cash in their chips, right? Well, not Carol, obviously. Carol instead moved to the Children's Environmental Health Network to not only become the director of policy for this organization, but really the architect for children's environmental health policy as we know it in this country. Carol is a very humble person. She's not somebody who would stand up here and say, I did this and I did that, but I can do that. And she is amazing. I remember after leaving the Clinton administration and joining this board, one of the things that Carol was very involved with in 2000, there was an election going on then, like now, and she did this incredible report comparing the environmental positions with regard to children of the Bush campaign and the Gore campaign in just an amazing amount of detail, every issue that all of us in this room care about, and it really was a landmark in terms of laying down a number of criteria that I think that we're all subconsciously using today when we look at candidates. But also I would say that she helped us when I was at EPA with getting landmark pesticide legislation enacted. The pesticide bill in 1996 that required consideration of children's health, for that matter, the executive order on children's environmental health. Carol's continuous and insistent and supportive presence from the outside was so important on the inside. And then after I left, there she was protecting the Food Quality Protection Act when, after an unfortunate turn of circumstances politically, we had both an administration and a Congress that looked like they would overturn it. And she was there to make sure that we knew what they were doing, that we wouldn't let that happen, because she was there on the spot, understanding what was going on in this inside baseball game here in Washington that can be so difficult to follow. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce you to Carol Stroebel, the Policy Award recipient this year.
Thank you all so much. I think this is going to be a little sappier than I thought. But I'm incredibly honored and just so pleased to see so many friends and colleagues here and to get an award that I really could not have imagined. So to get to the point, as many of you know, about a year ago I stopped working because I was diagnosed with advanced bile duct cancer, so for which there's not a cure. So I have this unique perspective because since, as you can imagine, I've been to a lot of very different spiritual and emotional places since I started working. And the good news is the place where I've been spending most of my time has been in gratitude. I've been reviewing my life, and I've been just very grateful for what I've been able to do. And I think of myself as a little kid, a working class kid in Milwaukee, a girl, no particular influence or connections. And I remember hoping that my life would be interesting and I would be able to do some kind of unspecified good. And so when I look back, I think, wow, I think of the people I've met, the things I've done, by doing my bit to save lives, prevent injuries, protect public health and the environment, and even healing the Constitution a little bit. It's pretty much unimaginable. And my greatest single span of time has been working with the Children's Environmental Health Network. And how well I remember the day in 1996 when I faxed my resume over to the Oakland office, and Joy Carlson called me right back. And as you know, she's the network's founding executive director, as Dr. Roper mentioned, and my life was forever changed. A great adventure started. And it has been an incredible experience to do that. Being a small part of building a new field to help make the paradigm shift for us to put children in the center, to protect children, and putting my hand to work that fed my soul. It's a great gift. And of course, working with an array of some of the most intelligent, visionary, caring people that you could imagine. It's been such a joy. And how grateful I am to the entire network family. Of course, the committee, the board members of committees, the staff, of course, especially NSA, who not only runs the network expertly, but has literally created a staff where we love each other. We really love each other. In the heart of DC yet. But you can imagine that. Of course, I have too many people to thank. I do want to give some general thanks to, of course, friends and family, many of the people here. And I have to thank, we live in Winchester, and I have to thank the Unitarian Universalist congregation I belong to for just providing all kinds of endless support. And of course, to my spouse, Larry Lamar Yates. Again, when I was going back to when I was young, I never thought I would marry. I could not conceive of someone who could know me so deeply and completely, yet still love me so unconditionally. And I have to admit, someone who wouldn't be boring. Larry is never boring. So he is the partner that I never dreamed could exist, and he continues to travel this journey with me lovingly and unstintingly. So thank you. So here I am. I see an award, podium. I guess I have to give some kind of substantive little speech showing off some of this wisdom I supposedly gathered over these 30-some years while I was knocking about the halls of power. And I think, well, what could I distill briefly and meaningfully and obviously quickly? So thinking about it, I, as many of us did, I grew up in an age where progress for all in the greatest, richest nation of all time seemed inevitable. Then a few decades ago, the pendulum seemed to swing away from a progressive approach that empowered the poor and the working class. I've been waiting for that pendulum to swing back, but darn it seems that someone has grabbed it and just won't let go. So I sometimes comfort myself with the thought of the arc of history. The arc of history is long, we're told, but it bends towards justice. And I've found comfort in that saying, and I suspect many of you have as well. But in thinking about it, I also think that that adage can be dangerous. We would like it to be a prediction, but it is not. There's no guarantee that we'll find justice in our future. How easy it is to assume that justice is inevitable, but it is not. Good policies and social changes don't occur through magical thinking. History does not follow the laws of physics. If we assume that justice is somehow inevitable, we risk inaction, complacency, and we will get a future that we don't want. The arc of history will bend toward justice only if we make it so. And we must be aware that we shape this arc every day. Where we live, how we live, what we teach our children, even what we buy, affects that arc. Just sitting on your couch every night, you're affecting history, but probably not in the direction you want it to go. And I know many of you in this room work every day to bend that arc, to move us toward assuring the healthy environments that all children deserve. You increase our knowledge, you advocate, others make decisions that will affect children. And so I urge you to share with your students, your mentees, your colleagues, what you are doing, and teach them that they also are shaping history. Speak up, act out, empower yourself, empower others. Work for a candidate, run for office yourself. Live as though your life has an impact, because it does. And of course, vote, don't forget to vote, and work against any efforts to decrease rather than increase the ability and ease of voting and eligibility to vote. Bending history toward justice and, we hope, equality, tolerance, and compassion for those most vulnerable will happen, but only when we stop expecting others to act and take each step forward. And I guess I realized that's what that little kid from Milwaukee tried to do. I didn't know I was bending history, but I made a little contribution, and what a great ride it has been. And I urge you to sign on for yourself and for the children in the years and decades